Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That is Vanessa over there.
Hello.
I am Kelly. Hey, Vanessa, do you remember
Oh, God.
when I had a birthday this last time
Yeah.
and I said, no gifts, and you showed up with a grab bag full of whatever you could find.
Yeah.
One of those things was a astronaut ice cream sandwich,
Yes.
Oh,
sealed and vacuum sealed and all of this stuff. I've been on a diet. I've never craved anything more than when I'm on a diet.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
I broke out the vacuum dried ice cream sandwich.
How was
Yes.
it? Was it worth it?
Well, was it worth it? I didn't spend anything on it.
No, I mean calorie wise.
Oh, I'll say this. It was different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of ice cream sandwiches. I can't have ice cream sandwiches in the house because I will just eat the ice cream sandwiches
Box
until
of
they're
8 gone.
Yes, it's in one sitting.
Yes.
I think that I could probably, after this one, not eat the rest of the ones in the box.
They are very sweet.
Not only that, they just kind of crumbled apart on me.
Turns out when you freeze dry
Yeah.
an entire ice cream sandwich.
It
Yeah.
kind of snaps off in your mouth, and then
Mhm.
I don't know.
I
It didn't
love
stop me from eating the entire fucking thing because
Yes.
I am a monster.
Well, we all are. I love giving these as gifts just because they're so fun. Like astronaut food or freeze dried candy is so fun. But these ones are, I think they're official ones because I got them from like the website and whatever. Yeah, they're a lot. They're a lot to behold.
My dad and I used to do like backpacking and mountain climbing a lot when I was in my teens. So we carried those freeze dried foods and
Yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
I tell you, when you're down here, they're all kind of awful.
Yeah.
But when you're in the mountains and you make them, they're so damn good.
They're like the best thing you've ever had.
Wow. Maybe it's because I've been walking for 6 hours today and I'm dying up here, but this is the best beef stroganoff I've ever had.
Like, give me another MRE. Mm-mm.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far.
Well,
But-
Vanessa, I'll say this. Please don't give me another one of those.
I don't think I have any more to
Yeah.
give.
I
There
can't
were
be
limited
trusted
numbers.
with them, and
Yeah.
it wasn't very good.
I would also like to point out I have no memory of you asking for no gifts.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
either. So
well-
I'll remember that for next year.
Because we were recording on my birthday,
Yeah.
and you had said something about, oh my God, it's going to be your birthday? And I was like, yes, please do
Oh.
not bring gifts.
Oh, you did have that tirade about something with your birthday, but I think I tuned you out pretty early on.
What? That doesn't sound like you.
Hmm.
Rant
smile
time.
a lot.
Let's see. What should I have for dinner tonight?
What's going on behind the eyes? You
I
know?
watched a couple of movies.
Oh,
Oh.
cool. What'd you see?
I saw a movie called Strays.
Oh, no. That looks so bad. You watched that?
Well, you'll be shocked to know that it was bad.
Well,
Hmm.
I mean, I guess I'm just pleasantly happy that the status quo of planet Earth remains.
Eric, are you familiar with this movie at
I
all?
don't think I've heard of this one.
Will Ferrell, Jamie Foxx.
Oh.
It is a movie about dogs where they have manipulated the mouse of the dogs. And so
Okay, yeah.
Hmm.
Will Ferrell's dog has an owner who hates him and ends up dropping him off in the middle of a town, and the dog wants to get back to his home. And along the way, he finds out that his owner is not a very good person, and all the shitty things he's done to him have been that. So then the movie turns into, and I shit you not, this happens at about the 18-minute mark. These dogs are on a journey to get back to his owner so they can bite his dick off. That is what
Yup.
the entire movie is about.
Oh, yeah. They mentioned that in the trailer. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember they wanted to go attack him after you started talking. I remember the trailer, but I didn't remember that specific being in the trailer.
It is really bad. It's really dumb. And I just felt bad. I felt bad mostly for Will Ferrell, who is just had a real streak of shit movies lately, and he used to be the funniest guy on the planet.
Yeah, but he was really fun in that Christmas movie last year.
All right, I still haven't
That's
seen
true.
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
that
Christmas
was a
is coming up
delight.
again. I'm going to watch it this year.
There you
Good, please do. I think it'll help.
That's the one with
Resurrect.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yes,
Yeah, that's really good. Really fun.
really fun.
This was really bad. I felt bad for Jamie Foxx. He's had a rough year anyway, but this
Yeah.
cannot be helping.
Oh man. Well, I'm going to talk about a game I've been spending a lot of time playing.
Sure.
It's called Vampire Survivor, which came out with a 2-player mode.
You try not to get voted off the island.
Now, this is a very confusing titled game because you do not play as a vampire, but I guess you are kind of trying to survive in it. It's sort of a top-down, almost like, I don't know, 16-bit looking game. And when I was on my honeymoon, my husband played this a lot. And I remember being like, what is this dumb game? Why is he playing it so much? And he was very, like, he spent 6 hours of the flight there playing this game. And I was like, why? What is this stupid thing? But now that it's got 2-player mode, I have played a lot of hours of this game, and it is really, really addictive. It's super fun. You kind of select from a series of different characters. They each come with a weapon or a protection thing or whatever it is. You have no controls other than moving left, right, up, down, and down. You can move around the screen, and your weapon just does its thing, whatever that thing is that you selected.
Oh, nice.
And then as the game plays, you pick up more weapons, and you have a 30-minute demarcation. And whatever happens, if you survive to 30 minutes, death shows up and kills you.
Oh,
Always. Always.
Alrighty.
just like life.
Yep. But yes, there's more and more unlocks as you play more, and it's created by, this is all coming together now, it's created by a guy who used to make Vegas gambling games. It is severely addictive. At some points, for some reason, coins just start flying in the screen, and you're like, the more things you murder, the more coins just show up, and you're like, yes, some coin was raining down. There's like really like fun little sound effects that are happening all the time, and I'm like, God dang it.
This is a computer game?
Yeah,
Or
it's a video game.
Phone game?
Okay.
It's a video game. It's not a mobile game. He was playing it on his Steam Deck, but I've been playing it on Xbox.
Wow.
Shit.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fun. It's a very fun game, and it's nice because it's pocketed time. Like you can't really waste more than X amount of time on it.
6 hours on a flight.
Well, he didn't have anything else going on. I think I was editing, so in fairness to him, he was just trying to use up the time. But I was shocked he wasn't bored and he didn't put it away for how simplistic it looked. But
Vampire Survivor.
Vampire Survivor.
Another one of the Kelly's meh, but I enjoy films or TV shows has returned. The Wheel of Time has a new season out on Amazon.
Right.
Ah.
And I'm enjoying it a lot. It feels more like the books now, which I'm assuming a lot of people who didn't read the books are going to be a combination of bored and confused by this show at this point. Because we're talking about they are doing a season a book, and the books are 500-600 page books. They're giant books. I think there's like 12 or 13 of them. So it's like, I'm pretty sure they're not going to finish the entire run. The reason I never made it past like book 8, even though I tried like 3 times, read the whole series up to like book 8, they just introduced so many characters. And it's happening here too. It's like, another one. But I'm really enjoying season 2. I think it just feels more like the Wheel of Time than the first one did.
Didn't the author die in the middle of the series?
Yes. Yeah. And his son took over, I think, somewhere around book 9 or 10.
Oh, so you haven't read those. So you don't know if he's done a good job with it or not.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Sort of like that. I never really read the Dune after Frank Herbert's had to stop writing.
Right.
Yeah. I've heard good things about the finishing Wheel of Time because I've asked a lot of nerd-ass friends about it, and they said that the son did a good job. So,
Okay.
yeah, there were a lot of notes left.
Another movie I watched is on Peacock, and it is called Pinball.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And it's I wasn't sure what I was going to get into with this. I ended up loving it because, of course, it's based in the 70s, New York in the 70s. And I learned a lot of things, like pinball was illegal in New York in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
They had kind of equated it with games of chance, and so it was a gambling game. And so it's really the story of this guy who loved pinball so much, and when he found out it was illegal there, he decided he was going to fight that and convince the state of New York that it was a game of skill.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those stories in the vein of like that Tetris movie that we all loved, or that that Air Jordan movie. What was that one called? I think it was just called Air or something like that. So it's kind of that kind of thing with a little guy and a passion, and obviously, spoiler, pinball machines are legal in New York, so he succeeded. But this story is told very well because they are interviewing the guy who actually pulled it off, I guess. Oh, you know what? I'm not sure if the interview is also fake, but it's told in kind of flashbacks during a documentary interview. There is a mustache that is troubling.
Yeah,
and
70s.
It's on the lead character, you know, so you're looking at constantly. It's so ridiculously huge that it's hard to pay attention to anything else going on in any scene. Also hard to believe that he could find a woman and keep a woman with this thing on his face. But at one point they do mention, you know, that the mustache is ridiculous. So
well, that's good.
Yeah. It's a great little movie. It's called Pinball. I mean, it is a great little movie. Might be in my top 10 of films I've seen this year.
Wow.
Nice.
That's awesome. Pinball was one of the films that we had considered for the Anderson Island Film Festival, which I was the co-director of until I just retired this year.
Oh.
But this year, it meant we got to watch a bunch of films to consider, and one of those was Close. Have you guys seen Close? Okay, it's a Danish movie, I believe. Film about two young boys who are best friends, and then they start attending school together, and rapidly discover that their friendship is not cool. Not seen as cool. So how their relationship sort of starts to crumble because of the way in which, you know, the pressure from being around other kids. It was so heart-wrenching and powerful and moving. And this is why I don't watch dramas anymore. It's too much. I can't take it emotionally. It was just too. It was so. It'll destroy you. But it's a great little film. So I'm really glad that even though I haven't been watching dramas, that this film festival did force me to watch quite a few, and that was one of the better ones among them.
Close.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to be available to stream? Or?
I believe it's free to stream on. I might be on Hulu. I'd have to check, but I believe you can stream it on something at this point.
Okay. And you say that Pinball was one of those movies. Did you watch that? And
I watched chunks of it because I was running low on time. So I cannot give a good assessment because it did not give me a good idea of what that film was. I remember watching the chunks and going, it seems fine. Okay. But I think I should have watched it for real. So looked cool. I should. It sounds like something I should watch now.
It's fun.
Does that mean you've wrapped up there?
Sure is.
This strange little.
Yeah, we're waiting on you.
Strange little end there.
I mean, I can talk more about Close if you want, but
no, that's fine.
I just don't want to give anything away.
I watched a film, another 2022 film called Hellhole.
Okay.
It was on Netflix.
Yeah, this sounds familiar.
About a guy who goes into a monastery pretending he's joining it, but he's actually kind of trying to investigate it. And some shit is going down at this monastery.
Oh.
And I won't talk about what goes down, but it's on Netflix, and this is well worth watching. It's from okay, I set myself up for this one. But
oh God,
Bartosz M. Kowalski, who directed a film that I thought was kind of a fun one called Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight.
Mm-hmm.
About I guess a Danish filmmaker, just sort of a take on Poland, I mean, he's a Polish filmmaker, take on a slasher film in the woods. And fairly inventive. And this is not a slasher film, very different style film, but well shot, really well acted, and very interesting film.
Horror elements?
Oh,
or-
very
okay.
much so.
All right.
Yeah,
Do
very
they worship Satan?
dark. Maybe they do.
Oh,
Maybe they worship bunnies. I don't know. But
Yeah.
there's very weird stuff going on. It's pretty cool.
Huh. That sounds fun.
I'm putting that on the list.
Netflix.
Hellhole.
Finally, a
Netflix.
reason to go to that app again. It's been a while.
There's been a couple that I've caught recently, doing this 100 days thing that, like that one, it's like, fuck, this should have been on Shudder.
Yeah.
There's another one I watched. I'm going, why the hell wasn't this on Shudder? This is exactly what I expect to find on Shudder.
Yeah.
A foreign-made, weird as hell film. But anymore, it's been like, are you having a horrible drama with your family? And it's kind of loosely horror-based. We've got it.
we got the space for you.
Elevated horror.
That's right.
Yeah, sure.
I think I figured out that elevated horror just means that it's adults.
Could be.
It's older people having these supernatural problems. All right, guys, how about we take a little break, and when we come back, we're continuing Sci-Fi September.
Terminator 2, the future warrior brought back to save our world. His mission, to destroy the evil T-1000. In his mobile assault vehicle, Terminator scours the streets for his deadly foe. Adios, amigo. It's the ultimate confrontation as power-armed Terminator faces certain death, only to return stronger and more powerful as Techno-Punch Terminator. Hasta la vista, baby. Terminator 2, I'll be back.
We have returned. Of course, we designated this Sci-Fi September, so we are just picking sci-fi films that we all wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
I'll go first, if you guys don't mind.
Nope, don't mind.
Putting 10 minutes on the buzzer. And I am talking about a movie from 1975 called Rollerball.
Jonathan E. That's the name. Houston players come and go, but the champion plays on. You know how the game serves us. It has a definite social purpose. Nations are bankrupt, gone, no poverty, no sickness. Man has accomplished what he'd always craved. Corporate society was an inevitable destiny, a good life, a centuries-old dream.
You better do as you're told, Jonathan. That's all I have to say.
Don't be here when I come back.
You won't be back, Johnny boy.
No player is greater than the game itself. It's not a game a man is supposed to grow strong in, Jonathan.
You still don't understand why I came here.
You're the only person I ever wanted. Wanted you on my side. That's all.
The books you've ordered are classified and have been transcribed and summarized.
Well, who summarized it?
Zero, of course. He's the world's brain.
Does it answer you?
Oh, yes, it speaks.
I'd like some information about corporate decisions, how they're made and who makes them.
They're afraid of you, Jonathan. All the way to the top they are.
The game was created to demonstrate the futility of individual effort. Let the game do its work.
Game! This wasn't meant to be a game!
Budget of $6 million. Could find no box office numbers for this. Rotten Tomatoes critics give it 67%, and the audience gives it 61%. This is directed by a little-known director named Norman Jewison, who has 44 credits, including Moonstruck, Fiddler on the Roof, The Thomas Crown Affair, In the Heat of the Night, Jesus Christ Superstar, and every other film he's done you have also heard of.
Oh my God. Jeez.
Written by William Harrison, who has 5 credits, including Mountains of the Moon. This is based on his own short story, Rollerball Murder. It stars James Caan, who's quickly becoming one of my favorite actors. 137 credits, including The Godfather, The Godfather 2, Freebie and the Bean, Alien Nation, Misery, The Dark Backward, Elf, 88 episodes of Las Vegas, and my favorite, Michael Mann's Thief.
Mm.
Also starring John Houseman, who has 50 credits, including The Fog,
Yeah.
Ghost Story, and Scrooged. And Maud Adams, who has 45 credits, including The Man with the Golden Gun, Octopussy, Angel 3, The Final Chapter, and Silent Night, Deadly Night 4. Also stars Moses Gunn, Pamela Hensley, and Sir Ralph Richardson. Have you guys seen Rollerball?
Oh, yeah.
No, I have not.
This is a really good movie. This was a first time full viewing for me.
Oh, really?
I've seen this movie, or parts of this movie, enough to have figured out what it was all about, but never sat down and watched the entire thing. All right, Vanessa, it is the far future, the year 2018, and there is peace among the planet. There is no war or famine, and there is one international sport that everyone on the planet loves, rollerball. Rollerball is a mix of roller derby and demolition derby with teams of men on roller skates and motorcycles armed with studded gloves and elbow pads and such, and a lead ball that's a little bigger than a softball. It's transported from team member to team member who try to stuff the ball in a little basket that corresponds to the team color. The other team is trying to stop them from accomplishing that, and they are allowed all kinds of violence to make this happen. In fact, more than one person has died during the game.
Whoa.
So we meet Jonathan E., who is the team captain of the Houston rollerball team and its veteran star. He has become very popular worldwide, and at the height of his popularity, he's brought in to meet Mr. Bartholomew, one of the owners of a corporation that sponsors the game, who tells Jonathan that they are retiring him and planning a big retirement party for him. He'll be set up for life with everything he could ever want. As you can imagine, Jonathan is a bit confused at this. He doesn't want to quit, and he's the best there is at the sport, so why are they retiring him? Bartholomew tells him, that's just the way of the game, you're retiring. And Jonathan says, the fuck I am, and leaves.
Oh, no.
So when Jonathan decides to dig into why they might want to retire him, he goes to one of the super libraries to do some research and finds that all of the books have been digitized and edited to suit the corporation's versions of past events. So he's like, this is interesting. His friend and former coach is Cletus, who has risen up the ranks and become an executive at Energy Corp. And he tells Jonathan that he doesn't know why, but the executive committee is afraid of him and they want him out. Jonathan is completely oblivious as to why they want him gone, and he decides to keep playing the game and leading his team to victory after victory. But all of a sudden, the rules of the game are being changed to make them more violent, and it becomes apparent that the rule change is in the hopes of someone injuring or killing Jonathan, since he won't retire. When Jonathan digs even further, he ends up going to Geneva to a central supercomputer known as Zero, which is the repository of all human knowledge. There he finds out that the computer memory has been corrupted by years and years of knowledge. In describing the Zero computer, the librarian says that the answers to questions have become so ambiguous that it almost seems as Zero knows nothing at all. And it's kind of the idea behind the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy joke, where the questions of the vastness of the universe are boiled down to the most generic answer, which is
42.
Thank you. Nerd.
Sorry.
What turns out to be going on is that the creation of the game was initiated to keep the general public occupied, so they couldn't see that over the years, all of their freedoms have been taken away from them. But with Jonathan becoming so popular around the world, the corporations are afraid that he might inspire the public to also start looking at themselves as individuals, and as we know from very recent history, that cannot be allowed. Jonathan decides he's going to play in the final match, which devolves into a cage match where there is no time limit on the game and only one person can survive. Will Jonathan triumph while the audience all around him begins to revolt against the corporations on live TV? Will we see that everyone is watching the game all over the world and the chant of Jonathan, Jonathan, Jonathan is also being picked up all over the world?
Got you.
Or will the corporations win and crush individuality, continuing the soft fascism that the U.S. has been living under for the past 20 years? Wait, that's the real world. Never mind. At first, I thought this movie was a bit naive in that all the corporations were afraid of was the people regaining some kind of semblance of individuality. But towards the end, when you're seeing how they've manipulated the fans into absolutely hating the other person's team so that they never rise up against the corporations, it started to feel very prescient and current. It's no secret that I think that politicians are all the same across the board. And the only reason we keep voting for our team is because they've got us at each other's throats instead of standing up and going, wait a second, we don't like you guys.
Yep.
I ended up just absolutely loving this. And James Caan is, I'm just going to search out every movie he does from now on.
I'm so glad you liked it this much. This is probably in my top 5 all-time films.
Wow.
I fucking love this movie.
It's good. I've got some really fun trivia about it. The game of rollerball was so realistic that the cast, extras, and stunt personnel played it between takes on the set.
That's so good.
At the time of the film's release, Howard Cosell interviewed Norman Jewison and James Caan on ABC's Wide World of Sports, showing clips from the film and with the two of them explaining the rules of the game. Audiences who saw the film so loved the action of the game that Jewison was contacted multiple times by promoters requesting that the rights to the game be sold so that real rollerball leagues might be formed. Jewison, of course, was outraged as the entire point of the movie was to show the sickness and insanity of contact sports and their allure. I'm not sure he understood exactly what movie he was making. Many of the extras in the film received an additional wage in order to cut their fashionably long hair so that the look of the film would not be tied to the era in which it was made.
Smart.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Exterior shots of the Energy Corporation building in the film are actually of the corporate headquarters of car manufacturer BMW in Munich, West Germany. Exterior shots of the bowl-shaped library building are of the old BMW museum. It is located only a few steps to the left of the headquarters entrance.
Oh, I've been there.
And then this is the coolest part. Recognizing their contribution to the film's many crucial action sequences, this film was the first major Hollywood production to give screen credit to its stunt performers.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That took a long time.
Yeah. Boy, this was a neat movie.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoyed it. And I beat my time again.
Well-
Rollerball also available everywhere.
All over the place.
Prime, and I think it's on, maybe it's on Shudder.
I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely a well-available film.
Very available. I can't believe it took me this long to sit down and watch the whole thing.
I am so excited to check this out. That sounds like such a fun watch.
And James Caan is just so watchable.
I'm gonna have to look this guy up because, like, obviously he sounds super familiar from all the
Oh,
stuff you mentioned.
yeah,
but
yeah.
I know as soon as I see his face, I'll
Of
be
course
like,
you will.
that guy.
I'm turning off my buzzer,
All right, I guess it's my turn.
and I'm putting it back on 10 minutes for you, Vanessa.
Excellent. Well, this is another great opportunity for me to delve into a film I had not gotten around to yet. The Philadelphia Experiment from 1984.
It was October 1943. The United States government authorized an experiment that would render its ships undetectable by radar. The experiment took place on a ship in Philadelphia Harbor.
Generators activated, sir.
For 41 years, the government denied it ever happened.
I don't believe this. The Eldridge has vanished.
Of course she has. She's radar invisible.
No, sir. She's really vanished.
But one ship did disappear, and two of the crew suddenly find themselves in the present.
Maybe all this isn't real.
You're telling me this is my imagination? You think the Navy knows what they're doing? You saw the guys on the boat. This wasn't supposed to happen, Jimmy.
Jimmy, whatever it is, it's after us!
Michael Pere.
Somehow we got moved in time. This now, this time, it's not ours. 1943 was yesterday for me.
Menzie Ellen.
What sort of experiment is it? Is it some kind of secret thing? Is that it?
Well, all that stuff I told the doctors back there, about time in 1943, do you believe it?
I believe that you believe it.
And Bobby DiCicco.
Don't leave me, Davey. Can't go through this again.
The Philadelphia Experiment. They opened a hole in time, and it stayed open.
Good God, there it is.
Now, the government needs the one man who can stop the experiment.
Look out! I keep getting negative pressure. It keeps going down. It's impossible.
No, it's pulling the air in. Pulling everything in.
Now, we can't stop it, but I believe that you can.
He's lying, David.
I wish to God I were.
I gotta go.
Remember, communication ceases when you enter the vortex. We won't be able to help you.
A Philadelphia Experiment.
Nice.
Oh, I watched it on Tubi with ads because that's the kind of person I am. Don't do that. It's not the best quality. This has 50% from critics and 40% from audience on Rotten Tomato. Budget of $9 million. Box office of $8.1 million.
Oh, so close.
Executive produced by John Carpenter, directed by Stuart Rathel, 25 credits, including Ice Pirates, Mac and Me, Mannequin, On the Move, Tammy and T-Rex. Writers, a bunch of 3 different dudes, only one of which really you would have heard of, William Gray, 21 credits, who did Beastmaster, RoboCop, Dark Shadows, The Hitchhiker, In the Heat of the Night, and Black Moon Rising. Starring Michael Pear, who has 196 credits to his name, including Gone, Hope Floats, The Lincoln Lawyer, Eddie and the Cruisers, Streets of Fire, Village of the Damned. And also he did a lot of D-level movies recently. In 2022, he was in 22 films alone.
Wow.
Yeah, this guy is working later in life. Nancy Allen, 39 credits. You would know her as Annie Lewis from RoboCop. She's also in Carrie as Chris Hargensen. Eric Christmas, 134 credits, including Porky's, Harold and Maude, Mouse Hunt, and Drama to Strain, and 54 episodes of Days of Our Lives. Yeah, this film plot. In 1943, U.S. Navy has a ship called the USS Eldridge docked in Philadelphia. Doc James Longstreet and his team are conducting a series of experiments, hence the name, to try and render the ship invisible to radar so the Nazis can't find them. David Hergren and his friend Jim Parker serve aboard the ship and know that they are off on a dangerous mission. Jim's wife is super pregnant. Well, she's actually not at all super pregnant. He keeps rubbing her belly and being like, watch after Junior for me. And it's like, there's no stomach there. So Junior's got a long way to go. I'm shocked you know it's a junior. And David is just this sort of womanizer rapscallion. He's just living his best life. The day arrives, Jim kisses his pregnant wife goodbye, and David and him get aboard, but the experiment, of course, goes terribly wrong. People are getting severely burned and electrocuted. The ship is phasing in and out of reality. It does work. They are off the radar, but they are also not seen by the naked eye. They try to jump in and shut down the generator and the power to stop the experiment and along the way, but they get shocked. So both Jim and David do the only thing they can, and they jump overboard. When they jump over the board, they not only go through the water, they go through a wormhole, and they arrive in the year 1984. They flee the site as there's a giant, weird moving machine in front of them, which is a helicopter. And they end up at a diner where they are very confused by everything they see, including like the Coke can, which is way too light for what it should be, and the prices of eggs, which are way too expensive. Somehow there's this weird electrical storm and damage that's sort of happening everywhere they go. And maybe it's to do with where they landed, but maybe it's to do with them. They end up destroying half the stuff in the cafe, and a guy is chasing them out with a gun. So they take a hostage, Allison, who's just outside at a gas station, and they ask her to drive them away because they cannot figure out how to use this car because there's no clutch. So the rest of the film follows as Jim starts to phase in and out of reality, becoming sort of invisible like the other sailors on the ship, while David is trying to figure out what happened to them, where they are. And of course, he and Allison are slowly falling in love. And eventually she finally believes his story when she sees old-timey pictures of him at his father's shop. In the meantime, Doc Longstreet did the experiment again for some reason that's never really explained in 1984, but this time on an entire town. And now the town and the ship are trapped in this weird wormhole between realities, and it's threatening the very nature of the universe. And so it's down to David to solve the entire situation as storms worsen on Earth. So this film, Nancy Ellen is pretty weak. She's pretty weak sauce.
Oh, no.
I don't think she's good in this at all. She does have a fun sweater in the last scene, and that was pretty great. So I focused on that.
Silver lining.
The main leads are a bit hit and miss. There are moments where they're fun. There's moments where they're irritating. David didn't really go on to do much else, which maybe that's too bad, because I feel like if it had been a slightly stronger script instead of this more one-dimensional character, you might have, I don't know, I feel like he could have shined a little bit better. The script just generally just feels very thrown together. It's kind of dull in quite a few places. It's a really fun premise, but there's a lot of like Back to the Future vibes, but not nearly as good. Also, there's this amazing moment where like he finds out his dad is dead in 1984, and he's just so upset. And you're like, dude, it's 1984. Time has passed. Why is this surprising information? He's like crying. You're like, whoa, okay. Why does he, there's an ending that I don't fully buy, but that's okay. Trivia. Back in 1980, Avco Embassy Pictures asked John Carpenter, who served as executive producer on the film, to write and direct the film after the successes of Halloween and The Fog. However, Carpenter showed them Escape from New York, which he'd written years earlier, and they did that instead. Although John Carpenter is listed as executive producer of the film, he and the director never met in person.
No.
And he actually did write the original draft. He called it a great shaggy dog story. Absolute crap, but what a great story. While I was writing it, I couldn't figure out the third act. A friend suggested the revenge of the crew against the people who put them there, but I thought that was too much like The Fog. So he does not have a writing credit on this. Stuart Raffle it says by the time he became involved in the film, the script had been rewritten 9 times. He agreed to do the film subject to having the final rewrite, which he thought the previous draft was terrible. The studio agreed to the additions, and he rewrote it in only 3 weeks up until the film coming out at the time, or being shot. At the time of its release, it had the fastest theatrical to video window in film history.
Oh.
Opened in August and was released on video in late October. The film is widely believed to be based on real life and ill-fated experiment with invisibility and force fields in the 1940s. However, to the best of any factual knowledge, no such experiment ever occurred. And the story was the work of an eccentric loner, Carl Allen, who sent notes on the experiment, quote unquote, to the government in the 1950s and whose story was later leaked. Despite the lack of any factual evidence, the story has become an urban legend and a favorite conspiracy theory of conspiracy theorists who point to the lack of evidence as proof that's being covered up.
Well, that's how it works.
That's just how it be. So, yeah, that's Philadelphia Experiment.
I remember kind of liking this movie, and I thought for some reason that John Carpenter was more heavily involved.
He's really just his name.
Wow. That could have helped, maybe.
It might have. I mean, there's some character moments here and there that I'm like, maybe that was still remaining from his writing, but you can definitely tell in the directing style that this is not a Carpenter joint. Like, it's a lot of Fast, Furious, wishing it had more of that Back to the Future vibe to it.
It's got, just from your description, it's got a John Carpenter feel to it.
Yeah. 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 But it's when you watch the tone and the structure and the pacing, it's kind of all over the place. It's so fatty and just, I don't know, it languishes. It really loves that 1940s nostalgia, but without the budget for it. So you're like, wow, you sure wish you had World War II props. They did get some realistic Navy uniforms and some cars, but aside from that, you're like, why are you dancing in a hall that's clearly painted with palm trees? And this could be anywhere. And there's a lot of 1940s style that looks like 1980s style. So it just feels like there's something missing. There's some kind of magic missing from this movie.
This was one I remember kind of feeling like would be a good double feature with the Final Countdown.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I can see that.
Ooh, if we had another week of Sci-Fi September, I might do the Final Countdown.
Why is September only 2 weeks? Curses.
I'm turning your buzzer off, Vanessa. Nice job.
Thanks.
Look at that.
In 10.
And then I'm putting 10 on it for you, Eric.
Alrighty. This one we're going back to 1966. The movie called Seconds.
Mr. Hamilton? Yes?
Listen very carefully.
I've been assigned to go over the circumstances of your death with
I have a gentleman here who wishes to leave the building.
Isn't it easier to go forward when you know you can't go back? Begin again all new, all different. Doc, it's a masterpiece.
I'm Nora Marcus.
I'm Tony Wilson.
Ultimately, we'll be called to face the Creator and render up our last account. It happens to all of us, sir.
There never was a struggle in the soul of a good man that wasn't hard.
As soon as these people leave, I'm going to attack you.
Why, Mr. Wilson, you dirty old man.
Rotten Tomatoes give this 79 critics, 87 crowd. Pretty good. Budget at $2.5 million, box office at 1.7. This was directed by John Frankenheimer. Might have heard of him. Director of Ronin, That One Island of Dr. Moreau, Prophecy, The Manchurian Candidate, and the television or the school series You Are There.
My favorite.
Written by Louis John Carlino, who wrote The Mechanic, The Great Santini, I Never Promised You a Road Garden, Where Have All the People Gone, and The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea. He likes them long titles. Based on a novel by David Ellie. Starring Rock Hudson, who you might know from Station Zebra, Strange Bedfellows, Giant, All That Heaven Allows, or 76 other films. Frank Campanelli, Overboard, Pretty Woman, one of Severin's crazy releases. High Noon Part 2, The Return of Will Kane, That's an awkward title. 157 credits for this guy. John Randolph, who's in You've Got Mail, Earthquake, Serpico, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and Escape from the Planet of the Apes, with 183 credits. And finally, Francis Reed, who is in The Andromeda Strain, Alfred Hitchcock Hour, Days of Our Lives, appearing from 1965 to 2007, and appearing in 3,384 episodes.
Wow.
Woof.
She retired from the show at 92.
As you do.
This is a very experimental film right from the beginning. You can tell that the way it's shot with distorted eyes and face close-ups, out of focus stuff, odd, right in your face camera angles. In the beginning, a man hands another man a small piece of paper with an address, and later that night he gets a call from, you're assuming maybe the same man, telling that it is his dead friend, and he needs to go to that address he was handed tomorrow past noon and say your name is Wilson. So he hems and haws, of course, but he does go. He eventually shows up at the address, and a nice scene where he's sitting there in his boring job being a banker, turning somebody down for a loan, dictating the message, and constantly watching the clock, going, oh, should I do this? Should I do this? And he goes, yeah, I'm going to do this. And he shows up at that address, and the guy's like, sorry, this is the wrong one. Here's the new address. And he goes, that new address. The guy walks up to him and goes, you're Wilson? Yeah, it's like, yeah. They put him in the back of this van and take him to another location. All done really well. I'm going, I am so into this movie already. Appears to get drugged by something, and he hallucinates a really weird dream that almost looks like a German impressionist silent film level backdrops and stuff. And it sounds like he's going to have his death faked. He doesn't know this is going to happen, but he's been set up by his friend to have this done for him, or to him, depending on how you want to look at it. He's of an age, shall we say, where he's kind of looking in the rearview mirror of his life, wondering, do I really want to continue where my life is going? So he decides to do it. Richard Anderson is his surgeon, who does
Oscar Goldman.
That's right, appearing again in a film. He can rebuild him. He can make him better than he used to be. He can turn him from John Randolph into Rock Hudson.
Oh,
The man is good. So he wakes up, and now he's got the face of Rock Hudson, and he's very not sure what he does. Like, well, your new job is you're a professional painter. We're going to send you to, I don't remember if they said exactly, but someplace like the south of France or Greece, and you're going to live as this painter. We're supplying you, here's your beginning paintings that have already been done for you. You just need to learn
oh my
to
gosh.
paint like this.
Wow.
And it's just like, oh my God, this is so wild. And he goes there, very hesitant at first, but he's got a butler assistant guy who's walking him through what his new life might be like and what he has to do, introducing him to all the people in his apartment. He gets a new girlfriend, and they go to this wild, weird party that was initially cut from the film because it's a 1966 film with fully naked people running around, but it is an amazing scene for the oddity of his character, going from fighting against his new world and fighting against it to almost by the end of the scene, he's turned around or it's like, okay, maybe I can do this. And so that's the basis of the rest of the film is him figuring out, can I really do this? What if I want out? What happens? What is I going to do? This is a dark, twisted, hard to watch film in a lot of ways. And it's amazing. I felt like after watching this film, I was sort of like The Swimmer, where I'm like, how the hell have I never seen this film? I never even heard about it.
Yeah, I haven't either.
And it is phenomenal. Initially, Frankenheimer did not want to cast Rock Hudson because he thought he was kind of a lightweight. He wanted Laurence Olivier or Kirk Douglas. And apparently, Hudson's agent convinced him, no, he can do this. And Frankenheimer, of course, later on he was right. He was perfect for this role, and he is. This is one of his best films, acting-wise. It is all over the place. It's sort of like Bruce Willis in 12 Monkeys, where he's changing, he's lost in what's going on in the world, and he's trying to figure out what it is. And just like that movie, wherever Rock is, you're like going on that journey with him where you're really confused or, oh no, maybe I'm okay with this. It's an incredible film. In order to shoot in Grand Central Station without anybody noticing, Frankenheimer hired a male model and a Playboy bunny to make out on the stairs and for her to get into a bikini. So everybody would be watching that. They shot the scenes they wanted
That's
to shoot
so good.
nearby.
That's so good.
The plastic surgery scenes were real. The cameraman fainted during the shooting of those scenes, so Frankenheimer took over and shot most of that footage.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable. Paramount Pictures, I mentioned that scene that they had cut was 7 minutes long. They're crushing grapes, and it's the big old party of drinking wine and making crushed grapes, and everybody who gets into the grape crusher takes off all their clothes, and there's not a lot of nudity. There's just a lot of naked people. The Cannes Film Festival was actively hostile against this film.
What?
The director refused to leave Monte Carlo and be interviewed by anybody. They sent Rock Hudson, who could not answer most of the critical questions because they were being so hostile towards him. Because it's a very confrontational film. It is very in your face. It is like, are you worth living your life? Is your life what you want it to be? What would you do if you changed? It's just very, very interesting. Andrew Johnston of Time Out New York wrote, Seconds is easily one of the most subversive films ever to come out of Hollywood. Even as it exposes the folly of selfishly abandoning one's commitments, it also makes a passionate case for following one's heart and rejecting conformity. Chilling portrayal of a well-meaning guy stuck in a Kafka-esque nightmare is unlike anything else Hudson has done. And it won or got nominated for an Oscar for Best Black and White film for James Wong Howe in one of his 142 films that he shot. So,
wow.
Damn good.
It's funny. This is one of those films where if you, during the Criterion sales, if you filter by science fiction, it's one that pops up. And I've had it in my cart so many times.
Really?
Yeah. And thought like, oh, maybe, but then I just didn't know enough about it. So never pulled the trigger, but this sounds incredible.
Yeah, I'll be buying this on the next Criterion half off sale without a doubt.
We'll just get 2 copies.
Well, then it's not half off.
Well, no, I'll give you the other half the money, you know.
I figured.
I'm lost. What is to what end have they given him this second chance at life?
There's a conglomerate business that becomes involved in changing the people's lives, and there's kind of an evil scientist who talks closer to the end about why he's doing what he's doing and what's involved in the remaking these people's lives. Almost Brazil level moments in some of the weird scenes of when he decides, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And what happens is it's really dark. It's really good.
So you found this on Prime or Netflix?
I Googled because, I was sitting there going, well, man, maybe I can work this into my 100 days, like a horror sci-fi. So I Googled horror sci-fi and that showed up, and this certainly could qualify as being straddling that line.
Putting it on the list. Okay, well, so we blasted right through Sci-Fi September, Vanessa. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah. That's all right.
But we're going to continue a themed month coming up here. And there's sci-fi allowed in this theme. Because we are going to make October a month of the October Country. I found out that all episodes of Ray Bradbury Theater are available on Tubi or...
a couple places, but Tubi's one of them.
And I suggested to you guys, how about we each... for all 4 weeks, pick an episode. There's 6 seasons worth of episodes to choose from. There, it started out on like HBO, and then I think it by the end was on a Canadian television show or everything. But I'm a big fan of Ray Bradbury, and I wanted to somehow incorporate watching those episodes again into this show.
Nice.
It's gonna be such a fun idea. I'm stoked to jump in.
Yeah, and I actually pulled out my old copy of the October Country, which a lot of the stories in that show are in. So I'm going to be reading along.
Watching the episode, reading
That's
the
right.
story.
Exactly correct.
Awesome.
So that's what we are doing starting next week.
Yeah, for 4 episodes.
For 4 episodes.
Yeah, so you'll get 4 times 3, 12. Wait. Yes. You'll get
There's a reason. You looked at me. I was like, I don't know. Is that right?
It's the reason we don't do a math
12
podcast.
It sounds
episodes.
suspiciously like math.
Yes. I thought I was the weakest person on planet Earth with math, but here we are.
Then you met me.
I did.
Well, this is the part then where we say thank you to everybody who is liking and sharing the posts, who is participating in the value for value model, which is if you get some value out of this, turn it back into value, give it back. Who's on the Strange Eons Radio Talk page on Facebook, which is getting a lot of traffic, and I really enjoy that. And who is leaving, let me see, messages on the Strange Eons Radio hotline, which is 253-237-4266. Okay, guys, that's the end of the episode. We're coming back in 7 short days, and we're talking Ray Bradbury.
Thank y'all. See ya.
Bye.
See you next Thursday.
Transportation and other considerations for Strange Eons Radio produced by Pan Am Airlines. When you think of traveling, think of Pan Am. You can't beat the experience. Guests of Strange Eons Radio stay at Econo Lodge Everett. It's an easy stop on the road, you know what we mean. Strange Eons Radio is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast app. Sit, Ubu, sit.
Looked cool. It sounds like something I should watch now.